Hi, and welcome back to the Introvert Circus. Today I have a little bit of a different kind of training, sound back kind of video for you. So this is a question that comes up a lot with dog people I know and in my community, and it is, should you bring your dog to Pride? Super timely right now. It's June. Happy Pride for all of my LGBTQ viewers on this channel. Welcome. Hello. Happy Pride. So should you bring your dog? That's a really tricky question, and there's not one answer. If I had to give one sort of across the board answer, it would be no. But it's more nuanced than that, and actually I do think there are very legitimate reasons to bring your dog to Pride and times that it is appropriate, and a lot of it really depends on two things. One, what Pride is like where you live, and two, what your dog is like. And there's no judgments about that. There are brilliant, wonderful, wonderful dogs who should never ever go to Pride, and that's okay. So I'm going to break that down a little bit, okay? So if you are familiar with Pride, and this is true, I think, for any other kind of big festival, parade sort of environment. This isn't unique to Pride, but specifically, we're going to talk about Pride in this video, but you can apply it to other kinds of events you might want to go to. It's a lot, right? There's often, depending on where you are, a ton of people, a ton of noise. There's a lot of people who are partying and drinking, perhaps. There's music, there's unpredictable noises from speakers, from noise-makey things, people yelling, people laughing, music again, drums, all kinds of things that might be stressful to dogs. Some dogs aren't fazed by them, some dogs are. And so this comes back to knowing your dog. Also, huge crowds, often lots of other dogs, or there may be other dogs, and those dogs may not be well managed. Those dogs may be afraid, those dogs may be uncomfortable, and that can obviously contribute to how your dog is going to experience that event. So I have brought dogs to Pride multiple times, numerous times. In the 17 years I've been going to Prides. But not all of my dogs go to Pride, and not all of my dogs go to every Pride, and it really depends. So again, this comes down to comfort. Pride just happened this past weekend here in Portland, and I brought one of my 3 dogs. I brought my 17-year-old retired service dog, Mercury, who is a Chihuahua mix, who is absolutely bomb-proof. So Portland Pride has grown a lot since I first started going. I'm actually going to put a little picture here of me and Mercury at Pride when he was he was under a year old here. So here he's under a year old. It's kind of a grainy black and white picture because it appeared in Just Out, which was the LGBT paper here in Portland that is now no longer in existence. And that was Pride 2003. So he was just under a year old, and he was in a carrier, which is a piece of advice I have for if you have a small dog. He was at that point my service dog in training. He had started doing public access work. He was not vested that day, and I had him being carried. He was out walking around at different points, I remember, but to get through crowds, and I believe we marched with a group I was involved with. And so I actually carried him for the march because he is 10 pounds full grown. At that point, he was full grown, so he was about 10 pounds. Very small, very crowded event. Small dogs, if you are bringing your small dogs, service dogs or otherwise, please make sure to be very, very careful with them. Safety first, and I often suggest carrying them. Even small dogs like him, who he walks miles, he's very, very active, he's not sort of like an accessory small dog. I carry him in large crowds for his safety because people aren't looking. People can easily trip over my 100-pound Newfoundland. They're going to squash my 10-pound Chihuahua because they're just not watching. So he's gone to a few different Prides. We went again yesterday, and that was the first time he's been to Pride. Goodness, definitely since we moved to New York. We lived in New York City for 13 years. He didn't go to New York Pride. So it had been over a decade since he'd gone to Pride, I guess. And Portland Pride has grown a lot. They were, I believe they were expecting 60,000 people It was very loud, very, very crowded, and he had an amazing time. I'm going to put in some bits of footage of him here. And the reason he had a great time is because he's a dog who loves going places. He likes, he was a working service dog for many years. Again, he's bomb-proof. Nothing really phases him. Loud noises, sirens, drums, crowds, whatever, he is really not fazed by it. So he had a great time. And I had a great time bringing him because I knew that it was something that was fun for him to do. He's turning 17 this year. And so any of those kinds of experiences I can share with him, I enjoy doing. It also wasn't super hot. That's something to think about with Pride. Obviously it happens in the summer, and what does the weather look like where you are? What is the ground condition? Is it concrete? Is it in a park? All of those things. So yesterday we went to the Pride Festival, as I said, here in Portland. We watched the parade, which is where most of that clip footage came from. And then we also went to the festival. And the festival is in Waterfront Park, but because there has been a series of summer festivals already, Waterfront Park is pretty much sand, this sort of sand-dirt mix. The grass is gone for the season. And it was, by the time we got to the festival, it was about 80 degrees, but it was hot. It was a little over 80. And I saw a lot of dogs really struggling on that footing. It was heating up. They were not comfortable. It was very, very crowded. And that's where I get uncomfortable on behalf of those dogs. I understand wanting to bring your dog places. And Pride is, in most communities, very, very dog friendly. So it's not inappropriate to want to bring your dog. But think about what's going to be comfortable for your dog and what's going to be comfortable for you. Do you want to stay all day? Do you want to party with your friends? Do you want to hang out, watch music? All of those are legit things to want to do at Pride, but they might not be what your dog wants to do. And so if you're going to bring your dog, your number one priority has to be your dog's comfort. And knowing when it's time to call it quits, knowing when it's time to go, and having a plan to do that. So also part of bringing only my small dog was knowing I was going to take mass transit, and having my carrier backpack that is transit approved, being able to easily get on the light rail train and get out of downtown when I was done. And to do that before he was done. He was completely fine, but I was done with the crowds. I was getting overwhelmed. I was hot. I was thirsty. I did have water. Always bring water. That's another piece of advice I would offer. Make sure you have water for yourself and for your dog, and offer water repeatedly. Make sure that any outfits your dog is wearing are easy to remove. If it's getting warm, so you'll notice, I can't remember if it's in this imagery, he started wearing a really cute t-shirt with a little rainbow on it and a heart. He also had a rainbow kerchief on. We went there in the morning when it was quite cool. By the time it was getting warm, I took that t-shirt off of him just to make sure he wasn't overheating, even though he is a dog who enjoys being warm, or certainly enjoys being warmer than my large dogs do. So having water, having an exit plan, knowing that you need to put your dog's needs first if you're bringing your dog to Pride, which might mean leaving before you want to leave, before your friends want to leave, but you need to do what's right for your dog. So and if you don't want to do that, that's okay, no judgment at all, but then leave your dog at home. Don't bring your dog to Pride unless you're ready to leave when your dog needs to leave. And I have at different points brought my other dogs to Pride in really specific contexts, not in Portland. I would not bring either of my big dogs to Portland Pride, just for their own comfort, because of the crowds, because of the temperatures, because of the space that it is very, very tight. When we lived in New York, for many, many years, I worked as a director in a LGBT nonprofit. And so lucky me, I worked every Pride. And New York has different borough Pride. So each borough in the city of New York has its own Pride festival, culminating the last weekend in June with the giant Manhattan Pride, which this year is going to have, I believe, 6 million people coming because it's World Pride and the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. Amazing, huge. I'm so glad to not be living in New York and not be dealing with those extra tourist crowds. But I'm so happy for everyone who's there. I worked Brooklyn Pride for many years. Brooklyn Pride Festival was much smaller than some of the other Pride events in the city. For several years, my partner and I lived just across the park from Brooklyn Pride, and so 1, maybe 2 years, my partner walked our dog Charlotte across the park where she walked all the time to pick me up from Pride. Charlotte's my very special needs former street dog who is very dog reactive. But because we knew the event, we knew we were just picking me up. It was a park we walked in with her all of the time, and we had a lot of strategies for giving space for her in there. She came to pick me up, had a wonderful time, hung out very, very briefly, and we left. She was probably only at Pride for 5 minutes, which involved getting a drink of water, walking through a baby pool of water, which often, like some of the smaller Pride festivals, will have water out for dogs, getting some treats, and heading out. And then this baby went to Pride when she was, how old were you? You were under a year old. I know. Because I was, again, working Brooklyn Pride, and we were doing a lot of puppy socialization, and my partner came as the puppy wrangler. And so she had her own handler who was focused on socializing her, making sure she had a really fun time, exploring. Again, it was a very low-key festival, and I was only working for a few hours in the morning. So we were only there a few hours. She walked around. She took a nap. I might have a picture of her. I'm not sure. If I do, I'll insert it here. But we had a spot to camp because I was working. I had a booth. It was shaded. There was lots of water. It was low temperatures. Again, I was there very early in the morning before the festival really kicked up, and then we got out of there. The only one of my dogs who enjoys, or I would bring to like the chaos and magical glitteriness that is a full-fledged like Pride March Parade festival, would be my retired service dog. And I think that is key, to really think about what makes your dog happy. What is your dog going to find enjoyable? She would rather go swimming, and I took her swimming at the river this weekend. Totally chill outing. Because if I brought her to Pride, it would be for me. It would be because I want her there, because I want to take a cute Instagram picture, not because she would have fun. And that's something that I really try to think about always for myself with my dogs, and what I encourage other people to do. Are you bringing your dog because they're going to have fun there, or are you bringing your dog because you want them to have fun there? And if your dog isn't going to have fun, please, please don't bring them. It was really hard yesterday to see dogs who were stressed out, who were overwhelmed by the sounds, by the noise, by the crowds, who were being hard corrected, for being fearful, which is never okay. And that's something that I really encourage people to think about. Don't bring your dog to Pride unless you're sure that it's the kind of setting that they're going to be successful in, and unless you're prepared to leave at any point if they are stressed or overwhelmed or too hot, or something goes awry, because that can happen. They're dogs, they're individuals. Even if your dog has historically been great in that kind of a crowded setting, it might not be okay today. And that has to be okay for you to say, I'm going to put my dog's needs first. I'm going to go home. So I hope this has been helpful. Those are some of just like my big overarching tips about Pride. Make sure it's something your dog is going to do. Know what the space is like. Know if there's room for your dog. Again, that's something I think a lot about now with a giant dog. Have a carrier plan if you have a tiny dog, just for their safety, and bring lots of water. Lots and lots and lots of water. And be prepared for putting their needs first no matter what. With that, this is my Pride how-to with dogs. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Please subscribe if you have not already subscribed, and I'll see you real soon. Have fun with your dogs. Happy Pride.